Redemption, a conversation about how the male figure responds to the pressures placed upon him by modern-day society.
Join us as we discuss how we can positively impact and provide solutions.
Welcome to Redemption. I'm your host, Dumisani Mkize, Kabazela Gamavovo, Guy Shandler. Today we have one of the most controversial, pressing issues that we'll be dealing with, the weaponization of child maintenance, which is affecting fathers in South Africa. And today we're going to focus on how it is financially and legally affecting the fathers. X?
Yeah, Dumidi.
How are you doing?
Welcome, South Africa. It's Redemption yet again. And this is definitely a pressing issue, and it's something that we really need to delve into greater detail, somewhere we left off.
Definitely.
So I just want to find out, Gary, and welcome again. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, D.
Where does Fathers for Justice stand on this child maintenance issue? And in terms of all what's happening around it, the costs and everything?
Okay. At a very simple level, is it the responsibility of both parents to maintain the child financially? Absolutely, yes. We believe that within the fair and equitable confines of the earning capacity of both parents, the child needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
We are not disputing the fact that fathers do not have a financial responsibility towards their children. That is not in dispute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is in dispute
Yes, sir.
is the application of maintenance and the specific targeting of fathers financially to destroy them financially and legally through the legal justice system. And we have a huge problem with that.
Sure.
Okay. So in broad strokes, what has happened is that sometime late November, early December last year, there was a directive that came out of the Department of Justice. Yes. And that I mentioned in the last thing was that they were going to now start becoming far more firm with fathers around paying maintenance.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because fathers run away when they get court orders to go to court around maintenance.
Wow.
Okay, but it is a double-edged sword. Okay, because from a legal point of view, you could find yourself in prison for ignoring a court order to appear in court.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
But the problem is that the vast majority of fathers go in and they get obliterated financially. Now, if you have a look at in South Africa, it's the maintenance is determined on the needs of the child and the earning capacity of both the parents.
Yes.
Okay, that's the ideal. That's what should be happening.
Yeah.
But it's not. Fathers are going in and they are being financially obliterated. I mean, I spoke to you earlier, X, about that father. He earns 20,000 Rand a month. 8,000 on maintenance, 12,000 on rental. And what are the courts going to do? We can guarantee you they're going to say to him, you need to get a house that is less expensive.
Wow.
Okay, so there's nothing about how do we make the maintenance equitable. The fact that this father was destroyed legally because of the incompetence of the public prosecutor, and this father is now potentially facing jail time again. And how does that work? Okay, because you're now going to send that father to jail that is struggling to pay maintenance. He's paying maintenance, okay,
Which you can't afford.
he can't afford, and the reason that he's being taken to court is because they now want to increase it. And I can tell you now, that is a mild case in comparison to what we deal with on an ongoing basis.
Sure.
I want to reiterate, it's not about whether fathers have a responsibility or not of paying maintenance. They do. Okay. But it has to be fair and equitable. Now, in the UK, what they say is that there is a baseline to cover the child at that age. Okay. And then they say, right, well now, daddy earns X, mommy earns Y. We can put on a percentage. Now, what is that percentage? Okay. It's somewhere between 18 and 30% of the income of that parent. Okay. If there is now a second child, it doesn't increase 18 or 13%, it will increase by 2% or it will increase by 6%.
Yeah.
And we need to actually get to a point of that I can go and sit down and I can say, I earn this is my maintenance, boom, I'm done, I'm sorted. Okay. We understand why the Department of Justice and the magistrates are frustrated, is because fathers are running away. Why are they running away? is because they are going into court and they are being financially obliterated. And coupled with the fact that you're now sitting with an economy where you're sitting with a collapsed economy.
Yes.
Okay. We're sitting with employment rates that are through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're talking about somewhere in the region of about 32+%.
Yeah.
So 1 out of 3 fathers are unemployed in South Africa.
Wow.
Where do you want them to get the maintenance from?
And you're touching on a very, very sensitive point here, because when you speak of a father that's running away, so to speak,
Yeah.
you know, it brings you that term, deadbeat dad. You know, and what are the stats surrounding that actually? What does it look like?
Okay, so the true definition of a deadbeat dad sits at about 6 or 7% of any given population. They fit the true definition of a deadbeat dad. But, and we've done it, we've delved into this in previous episodes.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that it's about parental alienation. I don't know if you've heard that word before. 50% of fathers describe themselves as alienated in this country, etc. So the bottom line is it's all good and well to say, oh, look at all these deadbeat fathers, and you don't take into consideration the factors.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what about seasonal workers? You know, those guys, what is a season? Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? 6 months?
Yeah.
So guess what? They're making hay while the sun is shining for 2 or 3 months.
And then?
And they've got to cover the preceding 10 or 9 months going forward.
Yeah.
So it's not just about making money and keeping money for these 2 or 3 months. Okay? So the issue is not just a matter of that fathers don't want to pay maintenance. You have a collapsed economy, and all our government is doing is it's driving it further into the ditch, and you then turn around and you want to say, look at all these deadbeat dads. It doesn't exist. You know?
Wow. According to you, Jerry, why do you think the maintenance against fathers seems so unreasonable?
It is specifically and deliberately used as a tool to financially and punitively punish fathers, with the direct intent to turn him into a deadbeat father, to get him out of the child's life. It is a deliberate tool.
Sure. Tell me, Gary, can fathers actually negotiate, the maintenance in court or with, the mother of the child? Because it's in essence, we as fathers, and I believe as fathers for justice, we want what's best for our child and the well-being thereof. So as fathers, I mean, we would like, in earlier episodes, you spoke of arbitration even before getting to court.
Yeah.
Now, in the court system, in our law X, can we then negotiate? Because, I mean, you've just mentioned why it's reasonable. So obviously, if it's unreasonable to me, the guy that you've mentioned with the 20 grand and the 8 grand for maintenance, 12 grand for rental, can I negotiate to say, but I cannot lower my standards, but can I then negotiate the price or the maintenance for the child in court?
By the time you get to court, it should have already gone through some form of mediation, arbitration, and through the maintenance office.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of that you're going there to now finalize this at a court level to say this is what is agreed upon. That's in a perfect unicorn ideal world. Okay. The reality is that I've gone and sat with brothers in maintenance court.
Yeah.
And it's just like in the one instance, the father had other children.
Yes.
He didn't have a problem paying maintenance for all 3 of his children.
Yeah.
Okay. The other side, because his father was unrepresented, sadly, refused to allow him to enter into evidence that he was also maintaining other children. That's why he couldn't afford a higher maintenance. Okay. The magistrate in this instance allowed for that evidence not to be presented to court, and then chastised him for not taking care of his child as a result of him having to pay maintenance for the other 2 children.
Wow, it sounds like the system is really fighting against us here.
No, it's it's like it's not a matter of that do we or don't we want to pay maintenance. And I'm absolutely clear on this matter. I mean, like every week make sure that the maintenance goes out, whatever I've got. Okay, it's just like it's not a matter of we don't want to pay maintenance, but it doesn't help you drive us into a ditch. Okay, and the problem with what is happening now with the new focus on maintenance, it's going so you frightening fathers away already. Now you're going to scare even more fathers away. Okay,
Exactly.
okay, and then when they do come to court, because daddy hasn't been paying all or some of the maintenance, you're going to penalize him so that he can't get credit. How many fathers do I talk to? They have got credit facilities where they're using their credit facilities to pay the maintenance.
Sure. Which is not ideal. I mean, if you look at the economy, which you mentioned.
Then you go and then you say to him, okay, well, daddy is deliberately stopping paying maintenance, or he can't pay maintenance, and then you want to send him to jail. Great one, guys. You turned him into a criminal. You've given him a criminal record.
Yes.
He comes out after 6 months or a year. He hasn't paid maintenance for 6 months or a year.
He's got a record.
He's got to pay the back payment. He's got a record, and now he's got to go out and get a job. Great thinking. This is like brilliant. This is only a politician could have sat down and drew this up.
That is terrible. Gary, what role do lawyers play in the financial abuse of men? Because it seems like men are the targets in most of these cases. What is the lawyer's role in this whole debacle?
So there's many. So many of the issues is that they say to daddy, just come and sit down and let's do a round table for settlement. Okay, it's not a round table for settlement. It's a round table to gather more information so that I can take you to court and say, oh, no, but you've got this house and you've got that car and you've got this property and blah, blah, and fish place. Let's destroy you financially. Okay. I mean, like, it's a matter of, I have gone out and I have worked, okay? And I'm just using this as a hypothetical. And now I have managed to buy 1 or 2 or 3 properties. Those 1 or 2 or 3 properties are now generating an income. Now you want me to go and sell those properties or give those properties to the mother so that she can now continue to get the rental out of those, and you still want maintenance out of me.
That just doesn't add up.
Sounds like you're funding a lifestyle.
No, you're
of
funding
the mother.
You're
and
funding
not
a job. That is what the objection to maintenance is. You are funding a lifestyle for the mother. Okay,
Child.
and we're going to get a lot of kickback on that one. But I don't care. This is the reality. You're funding a lifestyle for the mother. If she wanted that lifestyle, it's very simple. She should have stayed with the man that is the father to her children.
Exactly.
And guess what? By default, she would have enjoyed the lifestyle.
Exactly.
Okay. So, and we're not interested in the victim statements that are going to come pouring out. Okay.
Can already see them lining up.
No, they're already going to come up. The thing is that you are, and I want to put a request out, if I may.
Go ahead.
I understand that there has been a precedent set where a father was stripped of his rights and responsibilities for his failure for paying maintenance. Okay. My understanding is that now subsequent to that, there is now being 4 additional rulings using that precedent. Okay.
Sure.
Now, let's talk quickly about precedent setting. Precedent setting means that the precedent has been set, and at a high court level, it means that in the area, so for instance, if the ruling was made in Gauteng, it would apply to the magistrates and to the other courts in Gauteng.
The jurisdiction.
The jurisdiction.
Yeah.
A Cape Town case can be taken with this precedent and used as the precedent in Cape Town, okay, and set the precedent in Cape Town.
Cape Town, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And then obviously, similarly, the magistrates and the high courts now can use this as the standard. Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can then appeal it, if it's at magisterial level, you can appeal it at regional and high court level. And if it's at high court level, you appeal it at Supreme Court level.
Yes.
And at Supreme Court level, you can appeal it at constitutional.
Constitutional, yeah.
And it either stands or falls in any one of those particular jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is that you have now effectively, if this is true, and I'm specifically requesting, if anybody knows of these cases, please can you get in touch with us, and please can you refer them to us? Because what has now happened, you've effectively outlawed fatherhood in South Africa.
So now, mentioning that, Gary, what would then, be termed as in you have defaulted, and what would constitute that being now implemented towards men? Is it I missed the maintenance payment once, twice? And what if I have run into, a cul-de-sac?
Yes.
My finances didn't add up, so I couldn't make the payment, or I made a bit of the payment. Would then that constitute to me now being penalized?
Correct. Yes, you would. So here is the thing is that the moment that you hit a cul-de-sac, you've got to be inside court. You've got to be in front of the maintenance officer yesterday.
But that's a financial.
Yeah, we understand, but it's okay. But it's not an excuse. It's not a legal excuse for you to not pay maintenance. Yes, I'm out of work.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to be in the maintenance office yesterday before I found out that I didn't have work. Saying to the maintenance officer, this is the reality.
Yeah.
And can I have my maintenance put in abeyance for 3 months or 6 months or whatever the case may be?
Yes.
And then can we agree now that when I get work, that I start paying 10% or 50% of my back maintenance?
It sounds like you're paying debt here.
Yeah, you are. But the issue here is, if you take a look at maintenance in its purest form, it's about financially maintaining the child.
Yeah.
Okay. So all I can say to guys, do not run away from the situation, because I can tell you now, under the current climate, it is vicious. It is violently vicious out there, and you need to get on top of and confront it.
Yeah. As vicious as it is, and I think, gentlemen, we all may be thinking this, subconsciously. It sounds like the burden of maintenance is sitting on men.
Absolutely.
When will we sit and actually have a conversation? And I'm calling this out to South Africa. When can we sit and ask questions around what is the mother's responsibility? What is the legal system doing to talk to the mothers for them to find those jobs and support in providing for this child? Because as Gary said, this is about both parents. This is about both parents contributing to the well-being of this child, making sure they grow up well, they're taken care of. And I need us to move this conversation to where it should sit. The responsibility needs to be both on fathers and mothers. So I think the legal system, if you can come and join us here and discuss this even further. Mothers, what are you willing to do to meet the father halfway? Because I don't believe this child came onto this world with the father's responsibility alone.
X, that was a very, very good comment. And, it's good to call out fathers and society at large. Gary, we've got a very interesting, analogy. If we were to flip the table, you've just answered that a father should go and report, and say this is his situation. Now, what if the tables were turned? The father is no longer employed, the mom is still employed, and how would then the Department of Social Justice exacerbate the situation in further abusing the guy, if that may be the case? What is your take on that?
Okay, so the reciprocal action that should be taking place here is, if daddy was employed, he's now unemployed, mommy is employed. Mommy is now 100% responsible for maintenance, just if daddy was employed and mommy was unemployed. Why do we not pursue mothers with the same vigor?
Yes.
It's a one-way direction. Okay. And guys, please, it's not about whether fathers don't have a responsibility. They do.
Yes, sir.
But if I'm not earning money, what do you expect me to do? There's only so many kidneys and hearts and lungs that I can donate. You know?
Yeah.
So, what? Okay? So we are saying to the government, the Department of Justice, you better get hold of this situation because you are exacerbating the situation.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
It's not our fault that we are sitting with a collapsed economic system. Okay? It has to be rectified. But from a day-to-day perspective, we're saying that this one-way direction of it's all the burden is on the fathers.
Yeah.
Okay. And no, but I'm staying at home and I'm looking after the kids. What about all the SASA grants for mommy and for the child?
Yes.
You know, that is when you start putting that all together, that's not chump change. Okay. So we're saying that you cannot be putting the entire burden on the fathers, then wanting to basically criminalize them for not paying maintenance when they're out of work or they're unemployed. We're not talking about the dads that are deliberately not paying kind of. That's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about the vast majority of guys that are struggling, that are unemployed, that are having a huge issue around paying maintenance.
Yes,
So
sir.
he's saying the way the government is going around this, you are causing a massive problem.
Yeah. True.
Okay, and we're saying it's about time that we need to sit down as a society and discuss this properly.
Yeah.
And it has to be done sooner rather than later. Criminalizing fatherhood is what the government is doing at the moment. You're already blaming us for the fatherless society. Now you want to criminalize fatherhood. Be very careful about the path that the government has to be exceptionally careful about the path that it is walking down. And once a day, I've written to every single minister that I can think of.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Reaching out.
they're reaching out. I'm sending stuff. I'm looking at judgments from judges across South Africa, and if they are in alignment with us around mediation and contact and maintenance and all those guys, please can we sit down and talk to you? Deafening silence. So you can't. I'm absolutely 100% clear in my own mind. Okay, fathers are simply not the problem any longer. We are being deliberately ignored to the detriment of who? The children
Yeah.
and our society.
Sure. As Fathers for Justice, Gary, maybe in closing, is the current maintenance system sustainable for fathers?
No, it's not. You penalize.
Elaborate, please.
You're penalizing fatherhood. Okay, because I mean, like a simple thing. Dad gets unemployed. What do they attach? They attach his pension and any other payouts that he gets.
Sure.
Goes to the mother. That father could have taken that money, and if he was clever about it, started a business, or said, okay, I can extend the money over this amount of period, and it can keep me going while I'm looking for work.
Generational wealth.
Yeah, okay. What do? We said, no, send it all to mommy. And what does it go to? It goes to nails, hairs, and Gucci bags, Okay. So you are penalizing, you've demonized fatherhood.
Yeah.
You're blaming us for the fatherless society. Now you are criminalizing fatherhood in South Africa.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So the bottom line is that we've got to get to a space and place where we can sit down and have a rational discussion.
Exactly.
We've got to get to a rational place where we can say, guys, you've had the kids, you raised the kids. The percentage, I'm saying that we need to do something about what am I due? Because the other thing is that what you're doing is that with unattainable maintenance decrees, you're putting those fathers into debt.
Further criminalizing them.
You're putting those fathers into debt, okay, criminalizing them. And here's the thing is that the timeline to failure will eventually reach zero, where that father is in so much debt. He's got, the debt collectors buried up a very dark orifice, trying to collect it from him.
Yeah.
If the guy's only earning 10 grand, he's only earning 10 grand. He's not earning 11 grand. He's earning 10 grand.
That's true. That's true.
And
It's heavy.
and you know, and then it comes to when the kids get older. You know, what about the university and Technicon? What about getting that kid a car for his 21st or her 21st? What about setting up a trust fund for those child? The father doesn't have any ability. I take a look at myself. I'm in a position in my own personal capacity where I don't have a pension. I don't have these vast amounts of funds flowing in some bank. Okay, I don't. Okay, so forget about my kids. I myself, because of the way the system has been structured, is in a world of excrement, and I'm not alone.
I'm not expected to take care of kids when you can't even take care of self.
You can't, and you know what? The moment that a man can take care of himself, guess what? The moment a man is in a position to take care of himself, guess what? The entire family benefits.
Yes, exactly.
You are the very person that could make this all different for everybody. Is the very person that you are now demonizing and criminalizing.
Wow, Gary, it's been really deep, and you're touching on issues that, later on we'll talk about, because all of this now talks to the psychology of why men are the way they are sometimes. The impact of it all, the pain of what they go through. They say men hide pain very well. However, these days you find men even committing suicide because they've reached that limit in life. Where,
this week.
wow,
Well.
I can just imagine. I can just imagine. South Africa, you've heard it yet again. The weaponization of maintenance has led us to this conversation. Anyone out there who believes or who understands this impact, you're welcome to join us. Share your stories. Come through to Redemption. Let us understand and let us have the conversation. As Gary said earlier, the bottom line here is about the child. Exactly. How do we sit down and have a discussion as society, as a community, to find better ways in which we can maintain the child as both parents? Tumidi, your take on this.
Once again, Mr. De Silva, thank you for your insights, your inputs, your vast knowledge around the topic. And as X has mentioned, South Africa, this is all about the child. Mothers, fathers, we implore you to make sure that you make the right decision. Our legal system, social justice, any other department or stakeholder that is involved in the maintenance issue at large, we implore you as well to do the right thing, the reasonable thing.
Yes.
Many men are suffering from mental health issues because of this debacle. And at the end, we want, a working South Africa.
Yes.
A country which is plagued by unemployment at the moment. We cannot further exacerbate and, squeeze that little,
That we have left.
finance that we have left on the men. And we are simply saying, as redemption, as the name says, we want redemption for all, but we want it to start with the men. As Gary has said, if the dad is happy, guess what?
The family.
The family is happy, because it all trickles down from the head to the bottom. And as the Italians say, the fish rots from the head. So if the father's rotted, guess what? The family structure is destroyed. Thank you. Join us again. Once again, leave your comments on the comment section. We also have links to Fathers for Justice, where you can learn more about this particular topic of maintenance and other topics that affect men. Fathers for Justice is there to assist many men, and they offer arbitration, they offer legal counsel as well. So go to their website. We have the link on the description, and they are here for all the men that are going through the most, and they can assist. Join us again for next episode as we delve into more issues affecting men in our country and the world at large. Thank you.
Redemption, a conversation about how the male figure responds to the precious place upon him by modern day society.
Join us as we discuss how we can positively impact and provide solutions.